Good morning, Panther fans. Stu is unable to join us this morning. Well, he's not up, not he's under the weather, above the weather. It's hard to be under the weather right now because it's like 8 degrees here, and I forgot that I left the bathroom window. There's a bathroom in this room. I forgot that I left the bathroom window cracked. I leave it like permanently cracked so that the room always has fresh air. Um, we don't even use that bathroom. But the point is that, when it's 40, 30 degrees outside, you don't really notice a cracked window. When it's 8 with a 30-mile-an-hour wind, I came in here this morning and my ears are frozen. So, um, okay. So we're going to talk about a couple of things here in terms of, not specific to the game, but the season, the team. In terms of the game, I've lost count how many times this team gets that 1 goal lead in the first period. We look decent, and whatever it is, two things happen. And maybe they're related, maybe they're not. We cannot get that second goal. We can't get the second goal. The puck won't go in the net. We get chances. Some nights we don't, but most nights there's at least 3 times we're like, oh, it should have been 2-0. And it won't go. The puck won't go for that second goal, for the 2 goal lead. Sometimes we let the other team tie us by the end of the first period, sometimes not. Usually what happened last night is exactly what happens. We never get the second goal. We come back in the second period. Other team ties it up. And then some kind of fluke or unusual mistake or a bad bounce or a bad penalty, something that's not like a normal thing, right? Something it's not even barely like a teachable moment. Something will happen to make it so the other team gets the second goal and it's 2-1. But it's a lot of the times it's not even something that you can say, well, this guy was really out. This is a reoccurring thing. It's just one random thing after another where you just throw your hands up and be like, well, nothing Bob could do, nothing Knight could do. Well, forcing fell or something that's just like not, you can't, it's like not like you pull forcing aside and say stop falling. It's like no shit, right? You know that already. So we get behind 2-1, and then it looks like maybe we can kind of, and then in the third period the floodgates open. And the one thing that I'm noticing throughout the majority of these games, with the exception of how we on a regular basis come out in the first period, is if there's a loose puck, the other teams are beating us to it. The other teams are out skating us. I've watched, because we have all watched every game. But when I'm sitting there yelling on the stream most nights, we're getting beat to every puck. Almost every puck. I'm watching our guys coast while the other team is chugging and moving their legs and winning the battles. Especially when they have it in our zone, especially in the defensive zone. Whether that's by design, I know somebody had, one of the Winnipeg fans had written their opinion that, Maurice's defensive style is passive and hoping to, feed off of their mistakes on the rush. Well, whatever it is, it ain't working. And that's the other thing, is that this is not a renewed ragging on Maurice or any of that. But I thought this was why we hired this guy, to direct this team through the challenges and the tough times that we knew we were going to have. I mean, you're going to sit here and tell me that Zito thought we'd be worse at this point? Now, granted, look, the injuries are taking an effect. Okay? There's a huge difference between Barkov and Bennett versus Bennett and Lundell. I love Lundell. I love Bennett, but some of their success is, because of the team, the opponents that they're playing, where they're slotted. The point is that, I think Lundell could be 2C, but not with Bennett at 1C. Bennett just is not. He's played his guts out last night. He couldn't finish. Puck wouldn't go. Puck wouldn't go for anybody. And so, there's all these different things. There's Maurice was not the right guy for the job. There's the injuries and the illnesses. And then there's just no puck luck. How many of these goals where the other team's taking the lead are you just like, what? Some stupid bounce, right? The one goal yesterday, I don't know if it was the first or the second goal. It was a shot that Stahl didn't even know the puck was shot. It goes off of Stahl's back. It goes off of his back to the player, and it's in the back of the net. There's nothing you can't teach. There's nothing to improve there. There's the defenseman's in the zone. He got hit. That's the kind of things that are happening where you add it all up, and you have to accept that unless this is some bad juju on 2022 and like sunshine or rainbows and unicorns are going to arrive in 2023, it is as bad as I've seen it. And when you combine everything, now we've had we've had bad years, we've had bad teams, right? Like the players, you looked at the lineup, you're like, what? Huh? How are we going to win anything with this? We've had those years. And we've had some underachieving squads in the playoffs. Obviously, last year's team underachieved. I think the Gallant team that lost to the Islanders, I think, Luongo, Yager, I think that team should have won a series or two, honestly. I think we've obviously underachieved. Now, of course, when you look at the talent on paper, this team is underachieving. But like last night, Ekblad goes out, okay? And what do you do? That's another situation where I can't blame Maurice. Maurice is thinking he's got Ekblad from last year, and now this kid is, I don't know if his body's breaking down or if it's just one bad luck after another. But when he did what he did with his, that little shoving and pushing last night, it's not something that, it's like Achari thing. It's like a freak thing, right? It's like Achari blew his arm out trying to lift up a player, right? These are not things, but Achari's body, we knew he was getting older. He played that style. His body starts to wear down on him, right? We knew that was happening. But Ekblad's 26, and he's not like even a physical defenseman. It's not like he's Gabranson out there hitting people, and you could, his body's just abandoning him. And I honestly, at this point, I feel for him, and it's an effect on the team because, when we traded Uyghur, it was like, hey, no problem, Ekblad, Forsing. And at the beginning of the year, Ekblad, Forsing, we were all like, we're good. They look good. They look better. And then Ekblad gets hurt. He's clearly not right. Now he's hurt again. And I meant what I said last night. He should just sit the rest of the season. Look at how good Eric Stahl looks out there because he took basically last year off. He didn't intend to. He tried to play. But basically, his body got a year off, and now look at him. And I feel like, considering where this team is, Ekblad's not out there helping the team. He's clearly not healthy. So sit the rest of the year. Rest your body. Get a little bit bigger. Get a little bit stronger, because you're not going to get faster at this point. Okay? And maybe try to make some adjustments to your game a little bit and use the talent set that you do have. Take the rest of the year off. If I'm GM, if I'm coach, I'm sitting him down and saying, look, kid, you're only 26. You can still recuperate your body, but this is just stupid. He's clearly not right. But some Barkov, Duclair, Ekblad. Now, if we would have started the season, right? You know, if we would have traded, if we would have traded Barkov, Duclair, and Ekblad over the summer, what would our expectations have been for this team, right? We would have been like, tank, right? So, but then the flip side to that is I thought this was why we got rid of Bruno, right? It's like if Zito knew it was going to be like this, why make a coaching change? That's the part I don't understand. Blaming Maurice, putting that set aside, why make a coaching change if you knew it was going to be like this? But he couldn't have known about the injuries. So I guess if you look at the injuries, is that making the difference? I don't know. I mean, it makes a difference. It makes a difference. The Duclair one, that hurts. That definitely hurts. And none of the guys that we've gotten have picked up any of the pace, right? You know, I mean, look, nobody's picked up Mason Marchment's, game. Cousins is a nice player, but he's not Mason Marchment. Balsers is gone. Colin White, excuse me. I mean, Colin White every once in a while does something that you go, okay, but then the rest of the time he's pretty invisible, right? I mean, he was the scratch for Giovanni Smith last night, who didn't look bad. Had a fight, okay. But he's not an answer to anything other than if we need somebody to fight, we don't have to throw Gudis out there who just had a concussion. That's the answer. That's why he's on a team. And so I'm gonna look at the standings here. I have to warn you though, we know how bad it is, but it's actually worse. Prepare yourself. It's actually worse than what I've realized. And I'm going to tell you why. Let's go to NHL standings. Okay. Now look, we know this. Okay, here we are way down here with 34 points. Now, interestingly, nobody in the Atlantic is even basically close to the wild cards because you got Bruins, Leafs, Lightning secure in the top three. Hurricanes and Devils. Now you got the Penguins, Rangers, Capitals, and Islanders. Okay, between 43 and 40 points. One of those teams is not going to make the playoffs. Forget anybody else in the Atlantic. Penguins, Rangers, Capitals, Islanders within 3 points of each other. Okay, and the Penguins have some games in hands on these teams. But one of those teams is not making the playoffs. And their Capitals are 9-1 in their last 10. And the Rangers are 8-2 in their last 10. And the Penguins are 8-1-1. And you come over to our Panthers and we're 3-7. And we started this stretch a week ago that says these next 2 weeks define the season, and we ain't well, it's defined. It's defined. This I mean, you have to talk at this point about a 10, 12 game winning streak to even get back in the conversation, because we're where, right? I mean, right now the Capitals have it at 42 points. So we're 8 points out of 8. We're 6 points out of 9, and we just lost to the 9th team. So, I mean, I don't even know if, to be honest with you, I don't even know if a 10, 12 game win streak still gets us back in the conversation. I don't know. So, but that's not the bad part. That's not the bad part. I'm about to show you the bad part. Prepare yourself. Let's go over here to the West. Stars, Jets, Avalanche. Wild at 40 points is wild card number 1. Knights, Kings, Kraken, Flames are the 8th seed. So right now, prepare yourself for the beginning of the narrative about the trade and who won the trade. Because if we finish in last place or close to it and the Flames get into the playoffs, and for crying out loud, if they manage to win a round, us Panther fans ain't never, ever, ever, ever gonna hear the end of it. Ain't never gonna hear the end. It's gonna be, I will not be on Twitter over this summer if this happens, because it is gonna be deservedly so unsufferable. Because let's be honest, if it was reversed and the Flames were fixing to be in last place and we were in the 8th seed and, comfortably, right? Because comfortably by a point, but he's still in the 8th seed. If we were in their position and they were in ours, we would say some things too. So just prepare yourself for that, because that's where we are at the Christmas break. Is technically games in hand. If we don't play again and the other teams that are behind us win their game and their 2 games, we are in the last place. Last place. And it's not because of the trade. In some ways it is, and in some ways it isn't. It's clear that the chemistry has just been absolutely obliterated. How much of that was the trade? How much of that is Maurice? What I can say to that is that obviously Uyghur was a high energy guy, provided energy, and I can't discount that. I don't think Huberdeau was too much of the energy going on last year, but Uyghur certainly. But when you read the other fans and you read the articles and what they've said, the Canes fans and Winnipeg Jets fans, what they've said about what their teams look like when Maurice is coach, 100% across the board, they're all like, aha, that's what we look like. You know the Spider-Man meme? That's I get it every day. I get a comment from somebody every day. And we've gone back and looked at what they were saying then. It's not even the stuff that's hindsight. You go back and read the comments when he was coach there in the articles, and they all say it's what we're saying about our team now, they were all saying for years and years and years. And you can be at fault for something, by the way, without having really done anything wrong. Like Maurice is just being who he is. You see what I'm saying? Maurice is just being who he is. He's just playing his style, his brand. And this is the result that we are seeing is the same result with some rare exceptions that he got everywhere else. Doesn't mean he even has to be doing something wrong. It's just how he said it. When I watched his it was in the introductory press conference where he talked about when he left Winnipeg, where he realized he wasn't the right guy for the job. I don't necessarily think he's the right guy for any job in this NHL today. 20 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, his brand, his style of hockey, it worked. Now, in theory, technically, it could work, but we don't have the players. You can't, and this is the frustrating part. This is where it all ties together for me with the whole Gallant thing, because we had the players when Gallant was here and we went to the Islanders series. We had a nice mix of, we had the goaltending, we had strong, stout defense, and we had a high energy forechecking team, and some, on just enough offense. That didn't work. We blew it up. And what we built when we blew that up, it took us a while, but what we built last year, that was the result of that. Speed and just so much offensive dominance that it didn't matter that we had some defensive shortcomings. Didn't work, and now we've blown it up again, and we're trying to go back to the style that we had when we originally blew it up with Gallant, but now we don't have the players again. It's maddening. It's maddening. And like I said last night, to recap, my concern now My concern now is because some of us are like, hey, well, you know what? If we suck, just screw it. Last place, we suck. Viola will blow it up again. However, what if he learned his lesson? What if we suck and we finish in last place? And Viola says, the last 2 times I blew it up, it didn't work, so I'm going to stick with Maurice. You all know that sounds like that's exactly what's fixing to happen. Because that's exactly how we would run things. Is when we win and we don't win enough, we blow it up. But when we really suck, it's like, well, give the guy another chance. I'm really concerned that like the worse this gets, the more of a chance that Maurice has of keeping his job. Because from their point of view, you've got the excuse of, well, Barkov's been out half the time. Lundell was out. Ekblad's out and not right. Bob was not right. I mean, those are legitimate excuses. I just happen to believe that with what I've seen from Maurice so far, we still would be losing games. And I know that, we had some decent showings when the team was healthy. We still ain't won 3 in a row. All right? 3. Okay? The team's been healthy more than 3 games in a row. We haven't been able to put any stretch of anything together, except now we're starting to lose games. So I get that there's a myriad. There's so many reasons to this. But now, on one hand, I'm like, all right, well, we're gonna miss the playoffs. And the only hope you think is if we're bad enough that it forces them to make another change, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think that they're going to talk about consistency finally, and because of how it's gone when he's blown things up, I think they might just say, well, we can't keep blowing this up. We're just going to have to give this an opportunity to work, and we might have this system and this coach for this year, next year. He might even get the third year. I'm knocking stuff around. So, all that said, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Wish it was better. I realized that now, I turned around and I realized yesterday that it's only like 5 games until the 40-game review, right? And that was as close as I got, was that first 20 games where I missed by a loss. Because I don't even want to look. I'm going to do it when we get to the 40 games. I'm glad we got a little bit of time in between there. I don't even think if they win their last 6, I don't think they will match. Well, we played 34, yeah, so even if they win the rest of their games up to including the 40th game, they won't match the number I set for them in the second 20. That's how bad it is. That's how bad it is. I can't believe we're here, but we're here. So I appreciate everybody watching. Apologies, Stu couldn't make it. Oh, he wanted me to pass something on, though. Give me a second here. He'll be upset with me if I don't pass this on. Let's see. What did he say? Yeah. Yeah. He says, you can tell people I said we've had some very good first periods. We even get the first goal, and then we can't get the next one. It's funny. I didn't even read what he said, and that's how I opened up the video. So there you go. And it seems when that happens, and especially the other team scores, we give up. It's game over. No fire, no determination to come back. Ain't that fun? I hadn't read that, and that's how I opened up the show anyway. So he was already here. I was channeling Stu the first 10 minutes and didn't even know it. All right, so last thing I'll say is, look, some of you have only been here for a couple of years while we've been good, and we've taken things really, really seriously, right? We're not good. What I did in years past when we were not good was we're gonna ramp up. We're gonna have a lot more fun with things. All right, we're gonna have a little bit more fun with things rather than being so serious about it, because it's hard to be tough. It's tough to be serious about a team that's basically in last place, close enough. So you'll notice a change in the tone when we get back from Christmas, and don't want anybody to think that means I don't care or I've given up or anything. But you just can't come on here every day and be somber 3 times a day. So I'm going to have to go back myself personally and watch what I did year 2, year 3, year 4 when we weren't really winning, and to kind of get a feel of how we handled that, to keep things interesting, keep things fun, keep things light. So, because I held on to serious as long as I could, but we have to we're gonna have to just start laughing at this, because this the team we got, this franchise we got, and they ain't no fixing it right now. So let's just ride the roller coaster the rest of the way and get to summer and see what Zito and Viola decide to do in their little smoky magic room. We'll have a couple of bucks, and that's what we'll have to do. So appreciate all the support. It's 9:30 now. I gotta go to the grocery store. It's 8 degrees outside with a 30-mile-an-hour wind. I have to go to the grocery store because Karen went the other day and she was making a bunch of stuff last night and she forgot like 3 things. So I have to go on Christmas Eve morning to the grocery store when it's 8 degrees. Cause I'm good. It's cool. It's cool. She's doing the cooking, so it's cool. It's cool. But it sure would have been nice if that didn't have to happen. But besides that, I'll be back in 3 hours and 10 minutes. Kyle and I are live streaming Patriots and Bengals. And then we'll be back again tomorrow live streaming the Dolphin game. Both of those streams start at 1:45. It's cold in this basement. I'm not even in the basement. I'm upstairs. I left that window cracked, man. And I walked in here, I'm like, balls. I got my little heater here. I got the house heat on. But my ears are cold, man. All right. We'll see you again later.